The old software development agency model is dying. Most software development agencies right now, they suck. Most of them are stuck in the last decade. A lot of them are focused on this cheap labor arbitrage where they basically rent out labor in a much cheaper country and make money off of doing that. Now that model is going to die off, and I want to explain why, and also what's that new model that I think is coming next. Now, before I go into that, I want to explain the difference between the agency model, the recruiting model, and the consulting model. And once I explain those, I want to explain why arbitrage is going to die. And finally, I want to take you through the new model, which I think the most profitable development agencies are going to come from. Firstly, the difference between an agency, a recruiter, and a consultant is that the agency does the work for somebody else. So I pay some agent to do XYZ things. I give them a list of things to do. They go and complete that list, and then they come back with the completed work. Now, tech is a very iterative process, and so this leads to frustration because the scope grows and the budget grows, and it's a very broken system, and a lot of agencies are a little bit scummy in the way that they do things, and they overcharge grossly, and this is part of the reason things are broken. The recruiting model is basically where you obviously help your clients recruit their own tech talent. Now, there's plenty of recruiting agencies out there. Your recruiting agency is an entirely different business model, but that model also exists where basically somebody comes to you and they need developers, and you basically source them and give them to that client, or you just source them, manage the project internally, and when the client leaves, you let go of the people. I also think it's not a great model. I think you kind of use people, treat them as expendable, which isn't something I think is nice. The third model is a consulting model, and what a consultant does is basically provides information and advice. They do not actually execute on the things that they have provided. They provide a plan, they provide understanding, but they don't actually go and execute on things. The reason why I think the arbitrage opportunity is slowly dying is because of globalization and the internet. As things are growing, more and more people are jumping into remote jobs and things like that. And so the gap will start to close because plenty of people speak English in these developing countries, and they can find their own employers. And those employers want to find them directly and stop paying the agency middleman. And so the thing I believe most development agencies don't understand is their role in other companies and for other companies. You hire an agency when it does not make sense for you to have somebody in-house to do something. There's one client of mine that I think understands this process really, really well. They have worked with us several times, and it's when they're under particularly high stress periods, they need to ship something fast, they need to come up with something, and they need to put it out there. That's when an agency makes sense, because you don't need an extra guy for a full year, and it doesn't make sense to go through an entire recruiting process just for them to work on a project for 3 months, for 6 months, for 8 months, whatever it is. That's when hiring an agency makes sense. I think this new model that I've been experimenting with, and I have found way better client results with, is mixing these three models of recruiting, consultancy, and agency. Sometimes clients come to me and it makes sense for us to complete the work and execute on everything because it's just a specific push, or they want to outsource their front end to us, or there's some specific part. But then there's other times when they're launching something and they're going to need somebody in-house, and I've told them, look, I think we can build this. While we're building, you need a little bit of extra development horsepower, but then after, you should probably just keep somebody in-house rather than try and keep an agency on your payroll, because you pay a premium for that flexibility. You have to pay a middleman. And you might be wondering, okay, where does the consultancy kind of fit in? Now, you can charge for consultancy or you can not charge. Consultancy is all about helping the client understand what's going on and what are the best decisions that they have in front of them. As much as possible, I provide this as a part of my service, not always explicitly, but anytime I always offer it to my clients, like, listen, if you want to hop on a call and talk about like, where can you take the tech, whatever, we offer that as a kind of consultation, absolutely for free, included in everything that we do. And the idea there is it also helps build trust. You really have to make an effort to like be as honest and transparent as possible, even if in the short term it feels like you're shooting yourself in the foot. But maintaining that relationship means they keep coming back, and so things work out. That's the entire point of an agency. Anyway, I hope that was valuable. I'd be curious to hear any questions about this in comments. I know that I think a lot of people would be curious or would be wondering how the hell that makes sense. But I promise it can take you really far, because the trust that you build with people, then you also have two avenues of making money. When people need developers in-house, instead of trying to recruit on their own, they'll come to you. And when people need developers for just a little bit, they'll also come to you. So you have these two avenues, and they'll keep coming back to you, and you can keep helping people. And that to me has been really exciting and has been the biggest kind of experiment that I've been playing with in 2024, and has so far been pretty successful. And let me know other things that you'd like to hear about my agency or me or whatever in the comments. I always encourage people to ask questions, and I try and make videos about it if people are curious. All right.